Hey, good afternoon, my lovelies. How are you today? So I wanted to share a story with you after I was beautifully reminded of it this morning. After being in a stunning conversation with my girlfriend Karen Lynn, we were talking about seeing the beauty in another, seeing beyond story, seeing beyond facade, and actually seeing the beauty of another, encouraging them, nurturing them, and helping them believe in themselves, especially when they have perhaps stopped believing in themselves. This was a story that I was moved to tears by many years ago in a seminar, and again, like I say, I was reminded of it this morning, and I think it speaks beautifully of when you can see past the exterior of another and you actually get to see the true beauty of somebody, their essential self on the inside. It's called the Teddy Stoddard story. I've shared this with people, a few people over the years, that I believe, or they have touched my life, or I have acknowledged that they have touched the life of another. I've shared this story with them because I think this is profound. An elementary teacher stood in front of her 5th grade class on her very first day of school and told the children a lie. Like most teachers, she looked at her students and said that she loved them all the same, but that was impossible because there in the front row, slumped in his seat, was a little boy named Teddy Stoddard. The teacher had watched Teddy the year before and had noticed that he didn't play well with the other children, and that she noticed his clothes were messy and that he constantly needed a bath. And Teddy could be unpleasant. It got to the point where the teacher would actually take great delight in marking his paper with a broad red pen, marking bold X's and then putting a big fat F at the top of his papers. At the school where the teacher taught, she was required to review each child's past records, and that she put Teddy's off till last. However, when she reviewed his file, she was in for a surprise. Teddy's 1st grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is a bright child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and has good manners. He is a joy to be around." His 2nd grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he is troubled because of his mother's terminal illness, and life at home must be a struggle." His 3rd grade teacher wrote, "His mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest, and his home life will soon affect him if steps aren't taken." Teddy's 4th grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is withdrawn and doesn't show much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends and sometimes sleeps in class." By now, the teacher realized the problem and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students bought her Christmas presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Teddy's. His present was wrapped clumsily in heavy brown paper that he'd got from a grocery bag. She took pains to open it in the middle of the class with the other presents. Some of the children started to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet with some of the stones missing, and a bottle that was 1/4 full of perfume. But she stifled the children's laughter when she exclaimed how pretty the bracelet was, putting it on and dabbing some of the perfume on her wrist. Teddy Stoddard stayed after school that day just long enough to say to the teacher, "Today you smell just like my mum used to." After the children left, she cried for at least an hour. On that very day, she quit teaching, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Instead, she began to teach children. She paid particular attention to Teddy. As she worked with him, his mind seemed to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class, and despite her lie that she would love the children all the same, Teddy became one of her teacher's pets. A year later, she found a note under her door from Teddy, telling her that she was still his favourite and best teacher he had ever had in his whole life. 6 years went on before she got another note from Teddy. He then wrote that he had finished high school, 3rd in his class, and that she was still his favourite and best teacher ever in his whole life. 4 years after that, she got another letter saying that while things had been tough at times, he'd stayed in school and had stuck with it, and that would soon graduate from college with the highest of honours. He assured the teacher that she was still the best and favourite teacher he had ever had in his whole life. Then 4 more years passed, and yet another letter came. This time, he explained that after he got his bachelor's degree, he decided to go a little further. The letter explained that she was still the best and favourite teacher he'd ever had. But now his name was a little longer and was signed Theodore F. Stoddard, MD. The story doesn't end there. You see, there was yet another letter that spring. Teddy said he'd met a girl and was going to be married. He explained that his father had died a couple of years ago, and he was wondering if the teacher might agree to sit in the place at the wedding that was usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, she did. And guess what? She wore the bracelet with the several rhinestones missing, and she made sure she was wearing the perfume that Teddy remembered his mother wearing on their last Christmas together. They hugged each other, and Dr. Stoddard whispered in the teacher's ear, "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you so much for making me feel important and showing me that I could make a difference." The teacher, with tears in her eyes, whispered back. She said, "Teddy, you have it all wrong. You were the one who taught me I could make a difference. I didn't know how to teach until I met you." And this still gets me every time I read this. Because when people can see through a facade, a mask, who we pretend to be, and they see the beauty of who we truly are, and they love and encourage and nurture that part of us, anything is possible, and it can bring the beauty and the best out in people. I'm so passionate about loving people as they are, so that they can become the very best version of themselves. Whose life can you touch today by seeing past a facade, by seeing past the masks that people wear? Whose life can you touch today by what I call holding space for another and nurturing with an open heart and being love in action? If somebody has touched your life, I invite you to share this with them or tag them into this post. My invitation is, whose life can you touch today by just loving them as they are? God bless you. Any thoughts, comments or sharings, as ever, are insights for us all. Speak to you soon.